Welcome back to more Nova Arcana with renderXR developer commentary. How are you today?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Thank you for asking.
Yep,
How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good as well. Been
Hmm.
having some fun with Spelunky since the last time I've seen you, but it hasn't been that long.
Mm-hmm.
The Fundaments.
The fundamentals.
It has the word fun right in its name.
Exactly. Actually, never realized that.
I think that's what we'll start things off for today. I didn't realize, I wasn't really thinking about it. This is kind of closed off with some of the clay here. Is there a particular reason for that?
Yes. I'm just making sure a player doesn't, or a random mob doesn't actually walk over here and then trigger the um, pressure plate at the top of the
Oh, I
stairs.
forgot all about the pressure plate. I forgot all about the render meadness.
Wow.
I'd forgotten about this. All right. Well, that's a good reason then. And I'm going to need to remember that for any future maps that I'm watching people play when they come across something like that to say, aha, there's going to be a pressure plate coming up that render doesn't want the mobs standing on.
I do that actually quite a lot. At the start of in section 2, there's another one that we just blindly skipped over.
I see. All right. I'm going to have to pay more attention to that.
Hmm.
So I love the start of this area um, because you come in and you can see the objective right in front of you with like one spawner between you and it, and it's like this big giant place. And then you slowly discover what's going on.
Hmm.
Obviously, you've done the invisible maze before in another map, but yeah,
Yes,
tell me
sir.
about like your whole kind of design philosophy here.
Okay. This was probably one of the oldest areas that I had kind of prepared for this map, or at
Mm-hmm.
least the concept of it. I had the actual asset for the kind of hallway as well, but not the actual layout yet. But
Uh-huh.
the idea basically was in my first map, there was just this big pillory room that you could run through, and that would just you could just freely run everywhere. I
Right.
thought, what if you just make it so there's basically walls everywhere, and you actually have to kind of navigate through the different pillars somehow,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the barrier idea actually kicked in.
I see.
So I try to also make sure that there's no way to cheese through. So I had to design the pillars in such a way that you that there's bedrock basically on all the sides.
Right. So yeah, I guess you kind of dressed them up so that they don't look too ugly, but it's basically a cross of bedrock on each of the pillars, and then um, some decoration on the outside.
Yes, I actually personally like the bedrock texture. It's maybe a bit too noisy for like YouTube, but I
Right.
kind of like how imposing it is if used in combination with other things.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has a highly contrasting texture, so that
Yeah,
makes it more dramatic.
that's true. Yeah, it's funny because this is one of the areas that I made some notes and about kind of like what I liked in terms of aesthetics, I guess I would call them, the map.
Hmm.
And this was one of the areas I had in my notes. And it just kind of like occurred to me afterwards. I was like, I bet you a lot of people like think that, like this kind of stuff is like some of the ugliest stuff in the map. But I really like the aesthetic from the notion of the kind of implied lore of this area. Like it took a little while to kind of figure out, but it's like there's all these magical barriers, and then like some of the pillars, like over time, have toppled over, and those are the places where there's kind of like breaks in the barriers that you kind of climb up and go around.
Yes, yes, that's exactly what's going on.
And I liked kind of discovering that, and I didn't, it's the usual kind of thing with me that like the first time I was climbing over a toppled barrier or a toppled pillar, it didn't occur to me that that's what I was looking at, but then at some point I was looking back and I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. So I like that a
Hmm.
lot.
So my idea with that was because if I made everything just pillars, it would have become very repetitive.
Right.
So I mixed it up by adding either piles of gravel or making some pillars topple over and basically have like higher ledges with spawners on top of that.
Right.
So, and different spawner placements also help with that.
Yeah. So I like that a lot. And then obviously, yeah, you have lots of treasure boxes spread around, and many of them look like they're going to be easy to get to, and then you discover that there's a wall in the way. And so it's kind of constantly trying to lead the player in different directions and then kind of getting them temporarily frustrated until they figure out the maze.
hmm The the fog effect is actually kind of interesting how that came to be. That was one of the last things added to the map.
Right, I remember this was something like you'd like sent me a command that you needed to like fix this because I guess it was broken in one of the versions or something.
Yeah, it
Just was missing
it
a
functions
scoreboard
on
to
a
start it or something.
yeah, triggers on a scoreboard basically. And this is actually the fog effect that kicks in when you spawn a wither.
Oh,
And
interesting.
I based with my NBT editor,
Hmm.
that's an editor to go into his the data of the save file. I basically created a um new boss bar is what it's called, and I set it to the wither type.
Uh huh.
And that basically, when you activate that with a command, that's boss bar, it will basically also summon the fog. And then you would normally see a boss bar at the top, but
Right.
with the texture pack, I actually removed it.
I see.
So there's some trickery going on.
I see. I had no idea it was so complex. I hadn't really thought about it before. I was just imagining that, like, I don't know, searching for barrier blocks near the player and summoning some particles explicitly or something. So,
Yeah, so I think the range or like what blocks it's looking for, if this is the center of the player,
right.
then I believe it's doing something like this.
Okay.
So it's looking at all those places, and if there's a player, then yeah, then it summons it right at that spot. And if you get closer, then more will appear.
Right. Neat. So yeah, it was a cool effect to make it a little bit more obvious for people, I guess, maybe who are not super familiar with barrier blocks from having seen them in other maps or different things. And yeah, it's also just nice. Like most people I've seen have done the same kind of thing with putting torches or some kind of blocks on the walls against the barriers just to make them a little bit more visible. But it was something nice to make it visible when you get nice up and close.
hmm It basically removes the frustration of putting your face against a glass door, but you can so now you can actually see the glass door, so you don't have to walk against it every time.
Right.
And then the layout is also designed to kind of show the box right in your face and kind of taunt you with it.
Yeah, it sure does, and it gives you, I don't know, kind of like an immediate objective, and then yeah, there's I'm not sure how much of it was kind of like part of the overall design, but like you're pretty close to one edge right at the start. And so if people, and there's also like a chest over here to kind of like entice you to come this way, but you quickly discover that kind of like there's no way to go to the left. Other than, oh, paintings, that's really good.
Yeah, I actually used paintings in my tests when going through the area. Let me get some night vision. Yeah, paintings are a really good idea, especially because they now automatically go into their biggest form.
Not aware that that was a change. Okay. So, yeah, that makes them even better. Neat. Someone in my chat is like, wow, I wish I had thought of that. Yeah, I wish I had thought of that too. That's a really good way uh, to mark the
Makes
walls easily and
makes
cheaply.
yeah, and cheaply. Makes for some freaky art gallery actually.
Yeah.
Floating paintings everywhere.
All
So
right.
this area is relatively flat. So I wanted to kind of capitalize on the gameplay of that and
Hmm.
made sure the player had to run around a lot. So that's why this tanky guy that doesn't take any knockback leaves like a long trail of particles of death. So you kind of have to, kind of like a snake game where you have to make sure you don't eat your own tail.
Right.
You just have to kind of run around and use your space well enough.
Or just take these guys out in their spawners as soon as possible.
Yes.
But yeah, I guess I haven't
Um,
seen anyone kind of just try to run super speed through this area and see what happens.
no, I think most people. Actually, I don't remember what speedruns do. They probably glitch through the barriers somehow. That's what they always do. They always find a way.
I can imagine. I know there's like a command block in here that eventually opens a shortcut. I don't know if there's a way to send Redstone from this side to try to activate it.
I think
Um,
I made it so you couldn't do that.
yeah.
Or maybe the maybe right here.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right. In any case, yeah, I haven't watched a speed run of this map yet. One of these days.
I saw one that kind of glitched through the wall of the monuments and then used the emeralds that are underneath in like a dev room, a
Uh,
developer room.
right.
And then you put those in the chest to make the door open, and he grabbed an elytra and did it that way.
Oh, wow, that's really good.
Yeah, I've removed that though because that felt a little bit too cheesy
I see.
using a dev room. So I try to also be really careful with the length and layouts, but it's complicated and long enough that it didn't feel like we put out torches on all the safe spots.
Yeah. This
The
was a clever trap, by the way. I'm surprised I
thank
haven't
you.
seen something like this done more often, where there's gravel, but some bits are safe and some bits aren't because of just the depth of the gravel underneath or whatever. Like,
The safety's mainly done so that they both trigger each other. Like the middle part triggers the outer part.
I see, got it. So they're kind of connected beneath the bedrock
Yeah,
diamond layer over
in a
here.
bit we can go. If we find a next trap, we can
Can
actually
right go underneath and
look
take a look.
beneath it. hmm
All right, but you were saying the
So
length. Yeah.
yeah, the length and layouts. I tried to make them not too complex and long because that will not be fun in a very repetitive area like this one.
Right.
So I tried to also go through like smaller hallways and then a bigger section like here. It's a relatively open section, I think. Oh, nope.
I think it's
No, it isn't.
over here,
Yeah,
kind of like this area when you're first getting up to the broken pillar.
so this section is a 3x3 hallway or 3x3 room that this whole dungeon I actually kind of drew out. Like, how do I
Yeah.
want the sizes to be? So I literally just grabbed some grid paper and just drew it out.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, then this is the first fake out box where it's like, oh yeah, you can armor medium right from this side, and then nope, not today.
And I think we talked about this before. Like, this is good kind of backup gear throughout the map. Like, Protection 3, Unbreaking 3 leather is actually pretty decent, like, comparable to iron, I think. Um, and yeah, so for any people who were losing their stuff or just needed to pick up an extra piece along the way, it was decent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then this is where you find your first broken pillar. And I try to kind of make it clear, like, hey, this is also a walkway to go up.
Mm-hmm.
With the torches, and the chest is now here as well.
I see. Yeah, the chest is good just to kind of steer players,
Mm-hmm.
even if they might be disappointed in the loot. Sometimes a chest is more
Yeah.
than loot.
Uh-huh. And then a triple creeper spawner in a relatively big room, like a 2x3.
Is this the only place in the map that you have exactly 3 and only 3 spawners in a row?
Um, No,
Okay.
I think I have a triple blaze spawner. Although there's quite a bit of air gaps in between.
All right.
This might be the only place where it's just like a stack of them. Yeah.
Right. It's not really meaningful. It's just like some random trivia that I just thought of.
Yeah. Well, that is kind of, I always find spawner placement interesting. How maps have like different spawner placements.
Hmm.
Some are more memorable than others.
But yeah, with the night vision on, yeah, it's really cool to see kind of even more that, like here's a pillar that like totally broke down and like fell down over here, and there's the pile of rubble that's, yeah, I don't know, like the gravel like is meant to have been, shaken down from the ceiling or what's going on.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, big open room with here you have a nice vista. Me teasing the player really badly.
Oh yeah. So yeah, there was a while that when I was in here, like I was convinced there was no way to get there, and so I was like, okay, like it's way too much stuff anyway, and so it's just like a joke, um, and we never get over there, and so don't worry about it. And then later, I discovered that you could get over there.
Mm-hmm. So here we have the creepers with a gravel trap in front.
Right,
I
and
was
so I
kind of
think,
expecting people to not
oh,
trigger it. So
sorry, I
doesn't
forgot that we were
matter.
gonna look underneath. There'll be another one.
I think, yeah, there's a third one. Yeah, I was hoping basically the creepers would trigger it somehow, and
I see. I was
like,
stupid and triggered it on my own.
I got somebody with a falling gravel trap.
And flame flinger, I don't remember what this was. It's okay.
That's a good sword, like a good crowd control sword for like flat areas.
Yeah, and if you added some sharpness to it on your own or whatever, then it would be a really good sword, I think.
Mm-hmm. We can go through the art gallery of death.
So yeah,
And
and then I imagine, well, was the design intention that people would discover that basically there were no other ways to go, and so they had to go down into the lava, or was the design intention that there would be stuff underneath the lava that people would see, and so they'd just be interested in going there on their own anyway, or?
yeah, from that, I think there's the diamond helmet somewhere down below here, on like a gravel pile that you could see. Yeah, so from here you can actually see a gravel pile that you can go to.
Right.
Which way
Um,
So it was kind of the idea of, okay, hey, look, there's something down below. Are you gonna try grab it?
right.
And
Okay.
then
Yeah.
down below there are basically big rooms. So there's also sectioned off.
Right. There's still
So it kind
barriers,
of
but they're kind of, yeah, much bigger areas typically.
yeah, and they kind of match what's going on above. So this is basically a big room where I started using the lava. And I think it goes like this. And then around. And then again, I try to now mix it up by throwing in lava in the equation, just to make more interesting what's going on, because more rubble and more broken pillars
Right.
would get old pretty quick. And then this is a small hallway section with mainly nether mobs. So you have the blazes, magma cubes.
Right. And another sun charm. Okay. Or maybe, I can't remember if we saw another sun charm already.
We have found a sun charm in
Oh, the set piece.
yeah. There's a gravel trap right here. Let's actually go into spectator mode so we
Okay.
can see how it works.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, a gravel block. Whichever of these gravel things falls, it will trigger all the other gravel in its section, and then it will one of those gravel pieces will fall upon the plus sign, and then it will let the torches pop off, and it will trigger the other gravel thing to fall down as well.
Got it. You want to set it off and just gonna watch from below now since we've already seen it from above.
Sure, let me break it here. Oh. Or let me break it here, I guess.
Neat.
And then here's the fifth Skelly Jockey spawner in the map. So the hallways continue over this way.
Mm-hmm.
And more money to kind of tease the player. And then you get into... This was meant to be the most difficult part of the area, right?
Right.
Here.
Yeah, definitely. We are climbing this mound of gravel. Like, I remember this being difficult. And there's a blade spawner somewhere up here. Yeah.
And lots of more broken rubble around to make moving around more difficult as well.
That's true. Yeah, the area had been so flat, and now all of a sudden there's a whole lot more broken down pillars to deal with. Oh, and I had not realized that the ceiling with the gravel that's down here, like there actually is a hole in the ceiling up here. Is there anything up here?
Oh, yes.
No. In a word, no.
No.
That'd be a cool place to put some kind of Easter egg, maybe.
Something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think for the bigger piles of rubble, I did do it at some points.
Yeah.
Not in the outside part. What was this? Stardust string. I think this is just a melee bow. Yeah.
Yeah.
A wacky loot item to see if people will use that.
Yeah. It's once again, if it has not too much, points of enchantment stuff, so that you can add your own stuff to actually make it a good bow as well as a good melee item, it could be nice.
So with the emerald, I kind of tried to pull a fast one and try to make it seem like you cannot get to it. But then if players notice the broken corner, then they notice, okay, that's probably where I can get through.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I'd like come up on the emerald from one or two sides before or whatever, so then, this was just the third or fourth side, and there was a blaze spawner up here anyway, and so you're coming up here and you're like, oh, guess what? Now that I broke that blaze spawner, I found a way to get to the emerald.
There's lots of teasing like that, where basically, but it's, especially these aluminium tools right here, it's so...
I lost track of it. Hold on.
Let me get to you. Here. Hi.
Okay.
And this way?
Okay.
Yeah. People always confused, like, how do I get here?
Oh, yeah. And it's unfortunate, again, like, I did see someone, like, could see that it was some kind of tools, but they couldn't read the word. Yeah, the fact that signs are so hard to see unless you're standing exactly 2 blocks in front of them. Yeah, it'd be nicer, yeah, if you could see that, because aluminium tools, like, would be a interesting tease when you have no idea what it is.
I could have put it on, like, all sides. That would have been better.
Yeah. I think that would be good.
So here I tried to use the lava to signal, hey, you can go down here. And then the torches down there, and just a broken piece of floor that's also lying at the bottom.
Right. Did you intend...
This
Sorry, go ahead.
is exactly also the pattern that should be on top of what's down there.
I see. Neat.
With the bedrock.
Neat.
What was your question?
Did you intend... You said you used the lava to signal that you can go down here. Did you intend for it also to be a way to have the magma cubes go up and attack the player from below?
No. That was just a side effect.
I see. It was a nice bonus side effect then. Because they really
so
go
often.
up fast when they get in the lava.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta use that more.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
So yeah, I think I saw more than one person end up going up to the ceiling just to get rid of the lava, so they wouldn't have to deal with that anymore.
The express train for magma cubes.
Yep. But yeah, it's dangerous down here, but it's clear that like yeah, you come down here and it's like okay, there's a pathway. There are other spawners down here. I think the existence of spawners down below, like I mean, yeah, you've got the lava, you've got redstone torches, but the existence of spawners down here are the thing that completely sold me on. Okay, there is somewhere to go down below because there's no reason to
Uh-huh.
put spawners unless they're guarding something.
Precisely. And here I do a little pincer attack to blaze spawners on the right and left. And whichever you choose, you have to deal with the other as well. And then a magma cube, a big magma cube of the precarious situation. I saw a lot of people having trouble with this spawner in particular.
Yeah, I mean the big magmas are difficult to deal with, and you're going uphill, and you're going against the lava, um, so that can be
It's a
difficult.
recipe for disaster, yeah.
Someone asked a question. I
So,
saw that No Leaf Clover and Galileo did manage to place some blocks underneath the barrier blocks in the lava, and then use that
yes.
as a way to get around. Is that something that you had thought about beforehand, or
Well, yeah, when I put the barriers in, I definitely figured that, okay, this is one way people are going to use trapdoors or water or whatever you can do to get into crawling mode.
right?
People are going to use that to basically abuse it. And I was fine with that
Yeah,
because everything is accessible in the long run.
yeah, and it's good to leave in kind of exploits like that or whatever, so that players who figure stuff out like get to feel clever.
Yes, I kind of enjoyed that, like what 3.2 used to do in Final Fantasy, with like little back doors into dungeons.
Mm-hmm.
Like speedrunners could, for example, use this to just easily get to the record box.
Right,
So yeah, the lava goes straight through the floor again, just to show like, hey, this is where you can go.
right.
This is traversable. And then you're basically right at
Yeah, it was
the
basically just a
record.
little like elbow that goes around to get to the disc, which was once again pretty well defended.
Hmm. Quite often, this room will not be that much of a challenge because you probably primed the spawner or like triggered the spawners already.
I
So
mean, it's a trade-off because it's not that you're going to run in and a bunch of guys are going to spawn, but the problem is the time that it took you to get up here. Like, there's 17 zombies and creepers that have already spawned, so you gotta kind of clean them out before you get over there.
yes, and that's why I'm also kind of putting this gravel wall here, trying to kind of
It did do
take
a good
people's
job of
time a little
fencing the
bit.
player. I appreciate that very much because whenever you're climbing up something precarious like this, like it sucks if, you just peek your head up and a creeper explodes immediately. And so this made it very unlikely that the mobs were going to path over here before you got
Yes,
your
that's the
feet on solid
second
ground.
function.
Yeah,
That's always why. That's also why you don't see me use too much ladder combat as well.
right.
Because going up ladders and then there's 10 mobs in your face is necessarily not the most fun combat where you're constantly shifting on the ladder trying to hit mobs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I try to use stairs, and if I use ladders or other places we have to kind of block up, I try to kind of shield it or make it safe.
And so if you're like me, you get over here and you're excited to discover the objective. And so you don't notice the three redstone torches sitting over here.
This might not have been obvious enough.
I don't know that I've seen anybody else miss it yet so far, so maybe it's just me.
I think War almost missed it, and I actually had to point it out to him. Like, hey, look at those redstone torches in
I
the
see.
chat.
But yeah, the
Chat.
command
I
block.
think,
So also the exposed command block was this just to kind of suggest to the player exactly what it's going to do.
yes. Kind of
Boop.
to imply, hey, you can trust me on this one. It's not just a random lever in a weird place.
Right. So yeah, I think it's well communicated from that point of view. But yeah, something like the target block or something nearby, something just to call it out even more would have been good, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Simple thing you could do.
It's always the hard thing. Like, how obvious is this going to be? And then you think it's really obvious, and then nobody notices it, and then you have a secret that you think is pretty well hidden, and everybody finds it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've been there.
Been there, done that. I guess we can go via the outside. Chuk, 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 chuk.
All right. Yeah, and so from the outside, so basically that's the, the two objectives that were inside there, but obviously there was more in the back that you couldn't reach. And so what was or was there like the intention of how players discover that there is a way to get back here and it involves coming from this area? Like, what were your thoughts?
So my idea was that I basically added all the extra space back there
Uh-huh.
to give the feeling that it's going on for infinity,
All right. It did that,
and
yeah.
then
And that was, yeah, kind of my original impression was just, oh, maybe that's just all atmospheric or whatever. And so it's not part of the map.
uh, and then I thought it would be a cool idea, like what if there was something back there, kind of like in some maps, how there's like this weird secret bonus area or bonus dungeon in a corner of the map where you're not supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of enjoy that feeling of finding the really obscure stuff. And so I tried to do that here where you could basically go into the area from a weird angle and then discover you can actually kind of get behind the area where you're not supposed to be.
All right. So yeah, that part is cool. Um, and this is going to sound like a criticism, but I'm not sure how much it actually is a criticism. Like, part of the trouble for me was the order that I happened to do this in. This was like the last place before I found intersection 4, I think, that I came to. And so I was like, okay, intersection 4 has got to be through here. That's what this is all about. And so, yeah, I came here with just like the wrong intention. And so it was like the
Yeah, I
secret loot
remember
area. Yeah,
I remember you getting frustrated because you were kind of disappointed why it was so empty back there and there was nothing going on, and
right.
it isn't too clear on, hey, this is a secret bonus area, kind of.
But
So
yeah, if I'd done the map in a different order, like, I may not have felt that way. And so I don't know how much it's a general criticism of the map versus just my particular ordering experience of it.
I think it's a very valid reason because it doesn't really um, kind of say it. There's no sign here, literally here, saying, "Hey, this is like a secret bonus area," or "It's a secret to everybody."
Right. Is there a way that without an explicit sign that you can communicate that? Like, have you thought about that?
Mm,
I don't have any immediate ideas that come to
I
mind.
could make this all mushroom island, so it really feels empty and okay. I think I'm not supposed to really be here. It's really barren and empty.
That's interesting. Um, would you remove like the loot on the other side, or would it just be like this portion would be barren and empty, but it still leads over to the other side? Or
I would leave the spawners in basically
I see. Oh, I see.
because it's basically in the opposite corner of where you actually are.
Right. Yeah, and I guess there were fewer walls for a good portion of this.
What do you mean walls?
Like there aren't barriers like between. I'm just
Oh
flying
yeah,
straight through the back.
there's no barriers in this section except for all in front of the lava. So
And
yeah, this was
then
meant to be this weird thing in the corner that's like a bonus little area.
I'm gonna go ahead and break some of the gas spawners so that we don't have them flying around the whole time as we're talking about this area.
Yes. Quickly just and then do it to normal again.
Okay. So yeah, extremely well defended box over here.
Mm-hmm.
And
and then some cool loot in the center.
I'm trying to remember what the loot was. Was it the first netherite?
Yeah, there's 8 netherite scrap, so that's two
Got it.
um yeah, 2 ingots. And basically an
Yeah.
upgraded version of that sword that was
Right.
earlier.
Yep.
And
Firefinger
then
or
some
whatever becomes Flamestorm.
consumables. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, that's good. Good loot and good consumables.
Yes, it was actually not the smartest thing to put netherite scrap here.
I was just about to
People
ask
will
because you can't actually do anything with the netherite in this map until you've reached intersection 4, right?
exactly. I didn't. I put this here when I actually hadn't the idea of to just make it only tradable.
I see. So you're
So
originally
when
thinking it
this
would
was
still
here,
just be a crafting ingredient kind of thing like it is in vanilla, and then you changed it to tradability, but it was still here.
yes, in vanilla you actually can just make a upgrading table.
Right.
I have no idea what the table is called.
Yeah.
Smithing table.
I ended up looking it up and had tried it out at some point. Yes, this was a very good sword. Someone saying they used the sword for the rest of the map. Yeah, Knockback
It's
3 is pretty great. It was a good sword.
I really enjoy that sword just
Yeah,
because it's just fun to knock mobs around and the sweeping edge on it, so you hit multiple mobs.
indeed. And
Mm,
then I can think of two other noteworthy things in this area.
let us fly towards this direction.
Okay.
So there's the pile of gravel with the two, not amethyst. What do we call this now? Garnet. The two garnet blocks on top.
I see.
And this is also the first fun box you will find in the map.
Ah, hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, so just a little something to defend it.
A little something.
A little something.
Yep. Okay.
Um, he's also a little bit different from the standard fun boxes. There's one Enderman spawner in the middle, and
Interesting.
then 2 of every other standard mob type.
Got it.
2 skeleton, 2 creeper, zombie, and spider. And then there's netherworld blocks around it because who has a hoe on it?
Right.
So
Yep. Makes it
there's
harder to dig
netherworld.
into. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then in this corner of the map, there's the little Easter egg of the rubber duck.
Yes. I found the duck. I dug into the duck. I might have tried to dig underneath the duck. Um,
And
I guess maybe
confusable.
if I thought about it, like the taco that's in the back of his head should have suggested that this is just a render being silly area. And it would be nice, yeah, like if whenever there's a render being silly area or whatever, like if you just like always had the taco or whatever, like just kind of.
In the nether area, there are a few rubber duckies as well, and I believe there's diamond ore where the taco is right now.
I see.
So I could have put diamond ore with the taco as well.
I see.
But yeah, I like to just be a little bit silly at times and put random things in the map. Just have a little bit of fun.
Right. I mean, it's definitely it was definitely fun and unusual, but yeah, it's the mood I was in already, like getting through this area or whatever, like made me not enjoy the fun and unusual as much as I might in other areas.
It's
It's like, oh, you
it's
just spent the last 3 episodes fighting for nothing? Here's a rubber duck.
with nothing except obsidian eyes.
And
So yeah, that's
then,
basically all. Oh yeah, if we go into let's actually do difficult peaceful before we trigger into
okay, so
the
it's a safe.
yeah, now it should be safe.
So it's a spawner trap.
Yeah, there's cave spider spawners in a little box with tripwires.
Oh yeah,
So
that looks
now
cool.
nothing can spawn in there because of the glass. And then the cave spiders have a spawn range, so like how far it spawns from the spawner, of only one or two. So they will always spawn inside and trigger the tripwire.
I see.
And then
And
there's a ridiculous amount of TNT
yeah.
here.
I did see, I forget if it was in War's playthrough or something, like someone like ended up getting a diamond or amethyst or, a couple pieces of something out of here.
Yeah, because the diamond is on top, it has actually a surprising amount of chance of surviving.
But yeah, that was a lot of TNT.
Uh-huh. I just wanted to make sure most of it gets blown up, if not all.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, it was definitely suggested that, I mean, originally I thought that there was just no way to get over here. And then once I did get over here, like, I did think it was going to blow up. Um, and fortunately, there were pillars of bedrock that you could, like, hide behind or whatever to avoid the explosion, like, once you heard it going off. But yeah, that's a lot of TNT.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a lot. Expands a bit into the
Oh my gosh.
roots as well.
And
I
so is
re
this just something that you just, like, placed by hand? Like, you decided you made the trap, you put down a bunch of TNT, and then
Oh
you
yeah,
just
I
covered it up
was
with ore?
yeah, it's basically that's what I did.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun there. This is one of those things that while I make it, I just giggle continuously. Because I just enjoy doing ridiculous stuff like this.
Right.
How much TNT is this even? It's like a big box. I can actually quickly fill.
Oh, fill replace, and it'll tell you how many blocks were replaced.
Yeah.
I'm guessing
Let's
like
do
2 stacks.
yeah, that would get pretty close. Maybe a bit more even. Red stained glass replace TNT. Oh, it didn't say it. Oh. Game rule send command feedback. True. And now let's switch this back. 280,
Oh, wow.
280,
Almost
yeah, 38.
stacks.
Mm-hmm. I went a little bit nuts.
Yep. It was kind of appropriate because, yeah, when it blew up, like, that's kind of like how I felt about this area. So, yeah. Yeah. And yeah, everyone enjoys like a big explosion.
Exactly. That's why the submarine castle worked so well. Because there's just explosions everywhere.
Zoom, 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 zoom.
Zoom, zoom, zoom. I think we have everything in this area, right?
I think so.
And we should move on to the next area, which is the lens below.
Right. The one other area of intersection 2 that we haven't done yet.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I guess should we take a little break between now and then?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good idea.
All right. So for YouTube, see you next episode. For Twitch, stick around and we'll be right back.
See you in a bit.